So I thought I'd make a little video about aftermarket speakers in transporters. I've got a T6, so I can't comment on others, but I'm sure it's something that goes through all the models. Aftermarket speakers and water ingress into the speakers. So this is a standard 6-inch speaker out of my T6, and I think Volkswagen know that there's an issue with water getting on the speakers, because if you have a look there's a little channel built onto that back of that speaker with a little ridge for the water to drip off of, and as you can see by the back of my speaker, it's a little bit water stained. Still seems to work, but you'll notice if you look at the where the mounting, the flush mounting is, you'll notice that the speaker only protrudes a tiny little bit. Whereas if we have an aftermarket speaker, I've got a D.I.Y Opti 8. I apologise for the shine off the top of my head. You'd have to turn your brightness down. It's a bit like E.T.'s finger. There's my D.I.Y Opti Sound 8. And you'll notice from where the flush mounting is there, how much overhang it's got. I'll show you both of them in comparison so you can see the difference. So the result of that is that when water comes down the door, inside the door, through it hits the rain hits the window, comes down through the seal, inside the door as it's supposed to do, which is why you've got 2 drainage points. It does one of 2 things. If your van is leaning a little to the left, we're talking about the passenger side door now, so if your van's leaning a little bit to the left, it will drip down, it will hit the brace bar that goes right behind where the hole for the speaker is. It will hit that bar and it'll explode the water droplets inwards onto the back of the speaker. If you are parked leaning over to the right a little bit, the water comes through the seal and drips directly down and straight into the hole, or straight onto the speaker. But even if I've left my door skin, my inner door skin with no speaker in it for a night on the lean a little bit, and there was water getting inside the van onto the step just by dripping straight through the hole. I watched it happening. So obviously if you've got a speaker that's overhanging by that amount, it's going to get very wet, which is what happens to a lot of people's speakers. A lot of people's aftermarket speakers are only lasting a few months in the shortest, and probably a few years. I've also spoken to someone whose speakers don't work when it's minus temperatures, and the reason is the water gets in, freezes his speaker solid. It's certainly going to degrade the life of your speakers. So what they've done at D.I.Y, very good customer service. I've spoken to them via email and on the phone. Great guys up there. They've come up with what they're calling baffles. They haven't said anything about rain getting into the speakers, but then no one's going to go, don't buy our speakers, rain gets in. They've come up with silicone baffles, which are actually rain hoods. There's a few companies do these as well. You can buy these separately. These are for the D.I.Y speakers, and they arrive like they're supposed to be included in your kit. None came in my kit. They were missing, so I phoned them up and they sent them out the next day. So they come in the box like, get in there like that. Okay, now you don't have to use them like that. What you can do is you can fold them out. You can't use them like that because that hits the window, but you can fold one of the ribs back and you can get away with them like that. Now what they also send you in the box with the baffles is extra rings. That's a 10mm ring. Now I've spent the best part of 2 days messing about just getting my passenger side speaker in, because I was determined to come up with a way where my 100 and something pound speakers didn't end up knackered after a few months. I've read a lot of posts on T6 forum, which has been very helpful. Lots of in-depth posts there about what people have done. And the majority of people seem to have hung a piece of sound deadening over the back of the speaker to act as a bit of a rain cover, stops the water getting in. That was a little bit rudimentary for me. I wanted to try and come up with something a little bit more permanent that did the job. And I tried a lot of things, and the truth is nothing actually worked 100%. But I'll show you what I came up with. I don't know how much use it'll be to anyone else, because the chances of finding what I got is rather remote. But I thought I'd make this video just to try and explain the issue a bit, so people are aware and then can make their own decision on what they want to do about it. So I'm using my rain hood. I'm not going to call it a baffle, I'm going to call it a rain hood, because that's what it is. A rain hood like that with one ridge in, and I am fitting the 10mm spacer, which they're saying is for stopping the speaker hitting the glass when the glass goes down. I personally think it's more for bringing the speaker forwards a little bit more, because there is room to do that, just to stop the water splashing on it so much. Now, it says in the instructions to fit your baffle in and then fit your ring over the top. I'm not doing it like that. I am fitting my ring behind my rain hood like that. There is room to do this, because this is what I've done on my passenger side, and it's all worked out pretty well. So I fitted mine into the door like that, and the issue that I had was rain was still coming in, even though that's pretty close to the door. That's as close to the window coming down as you can get, pretty much. You haven't got much of a gap there, but yeah, rain still, if you're parked at a bit of an angle, rain still comes through the door, splashes straight inside there. It needed something on the back. As I say, I wasn't particularly happy about hanging a bit of sound deadening over the back with a space at the bottom. Again, if you're on an angle, you're still gonna drip water in. Anyway, just by pure coincidence, I was walking through the garden trying to find a bit of plastic or something to make a cover to go on the back. Obviously it's got to be vented, because you've got the sound of the speaker and the bass blowing through. You need airflow through there, otherwise it'll affect the performance of your speaker. It'll sound terrible, or it'll just blow whatever you've put off. And I found, if I can, there it is on the floor. I found this. Now this is for my son's football. They put them on the ground and dribble around them. He's got quite a few of these, but there's only one type that fits, and it's the type with a little ridge on the back. Now, unbelievably, I found this in the garden and I thought, surely not, but it fits into here, and the little lip on it pops perfectly into the little ridge of the silicone ring that's not folded. I'll feed that in. I won't spend too long getting it all in, but you'll get the idea. But when it's in properly, it fits 100%. It literally couldn't be any closer, couldn't be any better. And that fits in like that. And that gives not quite enough room for the window. I just have to cut a few mil off of that. And that gives me that cover to fit the speaker in. Now, believe it or not, a little bit of water still gets in. Now, this isn't, I haven't tested it with rain yet. I haven't seen if rain gets in, but what I have done is I've had a watering can on the outside of the window, and I've poured it all along the window, all along the seal, so there's water literally gushes in. It's amazing how much water actually gets past that seal and gets in. When I'm doing it with a watering can, it does actually, a bit still splashes in there. So what I found, what I've done with the passenger side, is I've drilled a small hole on this red piece of plastic, and what it does is it just acts as a little drain. So if any water does get in here, it drains out the back and can escape. The idea being it doesn't fill up in here to the point where it overflows into the speaker. There is about what's that? A 5mm ridge on there. So you've got, when it's fitted, you've got about 5 mils worth of play for water before it starts tipping into the speaker. As I say, what I'm hoping is the little hole I've drilled through there will let it out before it pours over that little dam and into the speaker. Fitting the ring behind the silicone rain hood means that it is a push to get this speaker in. And what I've done on the other one is I've added a bit of grease around that lip, and then I've pushed the speaker in. And the idea of that as well is it just gives a little bit more of a seal, a bit more of a waterproof seal, so water doesn't leak in through here, because this is what's been happening to a lot of people, is water's been coming in through the ring or their adapter, in through the bottom of the adapter and then leaking inside the van. If you're going to use a bit of grease around the edge, use red rubber grease, because that's vegetable oil based and it won't degrade the rubber. If you use mineral grease, normal sort of grease like I've got some lithium grease there, that will eventually degrade the rubber. Probably not in the lifetime of the speaker, probably not in the lifetime of the van, but if you're a bit OCD like I am, then red rubber grease or silicone grease is the thing to use. What else? The last thing I'd say is I have mounted my speaker upside down. The reason I mounted it upside down is because your connections then aren't down at the bottom and getting water splashed over if any water does get in. What else? I've also found that in the instructions from D.I.Y, it says to make a hole in the rubber grommet where your electrics come through, and then feed the extension piece that it gives you, which is that it? No, that's not it, but it's similar to that. Is to feed it through the back of the door and then round to the speaker. Obviously I can't do that with that on the back, and I'm not convinced that's a very good idea anyway, making a hole in that rubber grommet. That rubber grommet's there for a reason. And then you've got wires going around to the back of your speaker, and if water gets into those wires, it'll trickle round, feed round and onto the back of the speaker. So what I've done is I've made a hole in my rain hood. That's a bit excessive, that hole. Be careful with the Stanley, otherwise you'll slip and make a massive hole like that. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to heat up a bit of sound deadening, get a bit of butyl glued over the top of that once my wires are through. But I'm feeding my wires through my rain hood on top of the speaker. I'll get that watertight so nothing gets in through there. I think that's about it. Hope this has been useful to people. As I say, it's taken me the best part of 2 days of messing around to come up with that. You should have seen how many different inventions I came up with before I found that. As I say, I was trying to make something out of plastic to go on the back. I tried to make a little gutter that went along the brace to try and catch water and feed it away before it splashed down. But as I say, that would have worked if it wasn't for the fact that when the van's on a bit of a tilt, the water just comes straight through the seal and straight in through the hole. It doesn't always hit that brace. That's only if you're levelish or parked a little bit to the other side. They also sent me these, which come in a lot of the kits, to stick on that back brace, just as a bit of I've put sound deadening on the back. They include, with Vibe, include a couple of sheets of sound deadening, which I put over. I've put some over the brace, I've put some on the inner door skin, and I've also put a little bit on the door card. I haven't gone too mad. You don't need to go too mad, but yeah, I've used some there. But they give you these waffles to stick on the brace at the back, right behind the speaker, to try and absorb the sound and deflect the sound from coming through the door skin. Don't stick these on. All these are going to do is suck up water. To test, I didn't know whether they were like rubbery and would repel the water, but I actually tested it. I put some water on there, and with a little squidge, just sucks up the water. You don't want these holding water inside the van. Eventually, I'd guess they'd just fall off and fall inside the door and cause you problems. So yeah, forget those. As I say, hope that's been helpful for some people. Have I solved the problem? No. Water still gets in there a little bit, but the main thing to take away from this video is, at the very least, you need to be aware that water is going to get in your aftermarket speakers. Water probably gets in your standard speakers, and at a very minimum, I would say get a rain hood on there. Just another thing while I remember, sorry, when you take out your standard speaker, it's got a little foam ring which fits around the outside of there, and then goes against the inner door skin. Now, I've been able to peel those off successfully off of both of the old speakers. So when you get your adapter ring, get a bit of adhesive, give it a little spray, stick it onto your new adapter ring before you put your ring onto the door. That just gives you a watertight seal. Otherwise you'll get water in behind there, behind your ring, and it will seep in through the door. I was tempted to also get a little bead of silicone to put around my adapter ring, but I'm pretty convinced that I've got a real tight purchase on the inner door with the rivets that I've used, and that foam ring just gives a waterproof seal. Finally, the rivets that I've used are flanged ones. The reason I've used a big flanged one is it gives you more of a grip on the ring, gives you more of a fixing point. The size of these is 4.8 by 18 mil. These work perfectly, and I've got an air hose here to use, and I've also got a mate with a air riveter, which is absolutely fantastic. If you can borrow one of those, then do it. Literally one press, psst, and the rivet's on. Otherwise you're going to be there with a little hand riveter pumping for ages. Right, that's definitely me done. Take it easy.
All right, stop.